Hi, my name is Lisa Martin. I am the mother of a child with special needs. He has Fragile X syndrome. In many respects, he has been my teacher. He has made me be a more caring, compassionate, better human being. What we have learned together on our journey, I have realised the difficulties and challenges that parents of special needs children face are wide and varied. During my years of facilitating courses for parents and professionals, I have met some wonderful people who have shared with me their stories of great joy and sadness, who have experienced the good, the bad and the ugly of all aspects of life bringing up their special children. I am passionate about empowering parents who are dedicated in helping their children with additional needs. You're invited to my podcast. I will be talking about all things in our special world of disability and additional needs. I will be interviewing other parents of children with special needs, as well as professionals and people in the community who are offering services that help. Sometimes these podcasts might touch an emotional nerve and upset you. Other times they might fill you with joy and empower you. I don't mean to make you angry or upset, but we need to get a wider audience listening and talking about disability. Only when this happens, I believe disability won't be feared as it is today. Hello, my name's Lisa Martin. I'd like to introduce Marta to the good, the bad and the ugly. Hello, Marta.
Hi.
So Marta's got a little boy called Diego, who's
Yes.
going to be 9 soon, isn't he?
Yes, next month.
Yeah. So introduce Diego to the listeners.
Well, Diego is high needs autistic and nonverbal. He was diagnosed very early. He was basically identified as 1 year and a half old. Diagnosed a couple of months before his third birthday, and kind of very high needs, severely autistic in some respects, and huge, issues, sensory issues mainly. He also has gene mutation, one of those rare gene mutation, and he also has been identified with hypermobile joints. So yes, he has a myriad of kind of conditions, but the only diagnosis is autism and the rare gene disorder. So
He was premature as well, wasn't he?
that
Diego?
too, yes. He was born 26 weeks by emergency cesarean. Because I had preeclampsia really bad. I developed preeclampsia at 20 weeks, which is quite early and dangerous for the mom and the baby. So he was born at 26 weeks and he was extremely low birth weight. He was 1 pound and 2 ounces.
Oh.
So yeah, he was tiny. So yeah, it's been very, as a mom, very emotional, kind of even traumatic experience, so to say.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's hard to have a child in hospital. It's hard, even if they spend one night at hospital, is enough for a parent to really, it takes a toll on you, let alone for months and being so poorly and always waiting for a phone call in the middle of the night with bad news.
That must have been awful.
And
Yeah.
it was. As a mom, you kind of, it was my first child as well, and it's my only child now, but as a mom, you kind of have certain expectations of pregnancy, having a baby, caring for a baby, being a mom. I found myself totally, like I wasn't feeling a mom because I didn't do all those things that you are supposed to do. with a baby, with a child, and it took me a while for me to realize, this is motherhood too. It's just a different type of motherhood, but because we are not, it's not the type of motherhood we see or is known, then it's hard to kind of adapt. But in the end, of course, you adapt. You love your child, and of course, you'll adapt. But it's a kind of mourning, mourning a
grieving.
little, grieving.
Definitely
Thank
grieving.
you. Yeah.
I went through a stage of grieving as well,
Yeah.
and it took me quite a long time to accept.
Oh yeah.
And I think that comes at the end of the grieving, and I
Yeah.
think that can look very different for different people.
Yeah.
And there's no right or no wrong way of grieving. We all
Yeah.
grieve how we need to
Exactly.
grieve. For the length of
Exactly.
time we need to grieve as well.
Exactly. I agree with that. We are all different. We have our own different ways of coping and different times of recovering as well. So,
Yeah.
but I always joke around this paper that is called "Welcome to Holland," or
Yeah. Yeah, the poem.
Yes, it's a lovely poem. I always joke around though that I've been in Holland twice though, because the first time I read that poem was like directed to parents of children, premature children, extremely premature. And then I read it again when my child was diagnosed with autism. So I tend to say that I've been in Holland twice, because twice I had to adjust my own thinking about what is motherhood, what is the meaning, of being a mom, and what makes you a mom, and all those things. So it's funny. In the end, you love your child, and in the end you are a human being, and we are strong, and we just adapt and get on with life, and that's what we do, and try to be happy at the same time. That is the challenge. So
Yeah, it is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know, for me personally, we have to look at the very tiny, small achievements
Yeah.
and the little baby steps
Yes.
that a lot of other families
Yeah. Take for
they
granted.
take for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and we have to really celebrate the
Yeah,
small bits.
absolutely,
Yeah.
because it's the little things that bring us joy at the end of the day. We know and we acknowledge that our experiences are not at all the same than families with kids that are not disabled, or it makes me a little sad and demoralized a little as well when I see parents and parents groups, send parents groups, that maybe their children go to mainstream, and they believe that the children that go to special schools have all the support. Children that get early diagnosed have all the support in place, or they get all the diagnosis. I see so many people complaining about they are struggling to get diagnosis. And I can totally empathize, because we struggle too. We struggle to get all the diagnosis that my child should have, and he doesn't have, as he only has the official ones are autism and the small deletion chromosome mutation. That's the only two things has been diagnosed. Then he has been identified with hypermobile joints, but not diagnosed, because he's missing one of the things to be diagnosed. He doesn't have a kind of eczema that is supposed to have yes, weird, to have the diagnosis of hypermobile joints. This is at least what the letter says that we had from the NHS. And I think everybody's struggling right now. Everybody, everybody that is not only disabled or SEN, everybody, even people that is not disabled and SEN, are struggling right now. But with our families, it's more pronounced, because For those that are especially high needs, they need, lots of support right from the beginning. They need therapy, speech and language, occupational therapy. They need, some of them, they need physiotherapy. They need dietitians. They need a team around them. And this is acknowledged even in many papers that you read and nice NHS guidelines. But when it comes to reality, is that there is no such team around the child. I mean, now my child has one, but we had to go to tribunal to get it. So I don't think it should be that hard. And even going to tribunal to get it, it doesn't work that well together, because I don't think they are used to work together. They're used to work as a team of professionals for the same aims. They do their individual thing and then they liaison with each other, but they're really not working together. And I think that's bad for our children, obviously, not ideal.
That must have been so stressful going to tribunal as well, wasn't it? Just it's an added extra stress on top of everything else.
Oh yeah.
That SEN parents
it's what
have to go through these days.
Yeah, I mean, if you speak to any SEN parent, I think we will all agree, or most of us will agree on this, and that actually having a disabled child or a SEN child might be an extra challenge. But what we find the most challenging and what really breaks us and demoralizes us and affects, our mood, health, etc., is everything that surrounds our child's disability. It doesn't have to be the disability itself, although, obviously you see your child struggle, and that's not ideal for any parent.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. So, but apart from that, your child is your child. You love him or love her or love them dearly, you love them dearly, you want the best for them, and no matter the disability, you are totally invested in this child. And maybe because they are so vulnerable, even more so, I guess, than a child that is not as vulnerable. We can help it, I guess. But we are proud of our children, because at the end of the day, our children teach us many things. At least, this is what I hear from many parents, and it's my own personal experience as well, that we learn from that so much. But then, it's just...
it's the extra fighting and the...
Yeah.
Fighting for absolutely everything, isn't
Absolutely,
it? Like every
yeah.
step of the way.
Yeah.
Having to go into all of these different appointments.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And they reschedule on us last minute, which is upsetting for us and the child. Yeah. It's hard work. It's not the child that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is it?
No,
it's
not
the
at all.
people who are around us
that
seem to be the problem.
It's the whole system around us, yes. And it impacts as well in you as a person, in parents as individuals, because then you start to let go as well of your own self-care. You stop, if you have to go to so many appointments for your child, you stop going to appointments for yourself, or you prioritize your child appointments to the appointments you have for your own health. It's so much there. And yes, it's the fight for every little thing, for every little issues. The gaslighting is the continuous, your child doesn't need this or your child doesn't need that, for them find out, yes. And this happened at the tribunal. I was told by so many professionals, LA officials, NHS professionals, educational professionals. I was repeatedly told that my child wouldn't benefit from this or that, that my child was fine with the provision he had. We watched basically once a month speech and language therapy in a group for a non-verbal child. that's a school, which is shocking. No occupational therapy whatsoever for a child that has huge sensory issues that affects everything, for even speaking itself, because speaking and the speech is another sensory issue that has to do with how you feel your mouth, your muscles, your tongue, and also mixed with the dyspraxia that is confusing the way that you have to move, the way you coordinate, basically. So and not to have any occupational therapy to address this is a big neglect on these children's future and how they can develop. They say early intervention is so important, but then they don't show it. They don't act on it. It's all words on papers that they never, realize in real life. And and to be gaslight on that manner, then you go to tribunal, and then the judge, awards your child with a minimum support, which he didn't have before even, and it's like, why you were lying to me, why you were trying to gaslight me all this time, telling my child didn't need this, my child didn't need that, when actually he does need it, and it's acknowledged now by a judge in a tribunal. Still, after that, we took them to tribunal when he was 5, I think, 5. It took them 3 years to put all of his support, the support specified in the educational health and care plan, in place. 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm surmising you were continually fighting.
Oh, absolutely, calling them, emailing them.
Yeah.
Yes, the thing is that they did it in stages. So they start with a speech and language, which was really good. We saw the change straight away, from passing of once a month in a group to have twice a week, 1-to-1, for a very small period of time, because back then he wouldn't, our kids have a certain limited focus and attention, and it's a bit unfair to ask them more because it puts a lot of pressure on them. And my opinion is that therapy should be fun and should be something that he enjoys, otherwise it's just not going to work ever. So we asked for twice a week, 15 minutes only with that. And of course, liaison, this is 1-to-1 with the professional, with the speech and language therapist, and then implementing in class with all the teachers, teachers' assistants, etc. We contract a person to do an evidence-based, well, 2 actually. We got a speech and language therapist and an occupational therapist, which we pay a lot of money, sadly. This is another of the things, of appealing. You need to have money to appeal, because you need to contract, experts to give evidence. Without evidence, it's really hard to kind of, prove that your child needs this or that, or that your child actually can do this or that, because that's another thing. It's about the things that they cannot do or they struggle, but it's also about the things they can do and people don't acknowledge. So, for example, we've been saying to educational professionals that Diego can count until 100 since nursery. So we told professionals at nursery, before he started school, that he could count until 100 following the dots. So with a pen following the dots, and we will put the numbers all around and he will go with the numbers, or that he could read words, like matching images to words. He could do that easily before he started school, that he could put the planets of the solar system in order, that he had an amazing memory, and he learned, patterns really easily. So we've been saying this since before he started school, and it was not until we went to tribunal and we got the judge report verdict with all the evidence we provide with the professionals, OT and speech and language, that they acknowledged that my child could read, could count, and that they embedded on the educational health and care plan that he had to do this type of work at school, because the school was doing very little work with them around this, because they thought he was not able to.
This really upsets me, Marta, because I think a lot of people think that if you're non-verbal, you've got no intellect.
Absolutely.
And it's quite often very, very wrong.
I know it's totally wrong. I think every individual, as I said before, we are all individuals, we are all different, no matter if you are autistic, no matter if you have Down syndrome, no matter if you are neurotypical, no matter, we are all individuals, we are all different, we work differently, we react differently to different strategies and even therapies. So,
and we all learn differently as well.
Absolutely. And that is quite of acknowledged in mainstream schools, because I used to be a teacher, and I know in college, and I know that diversification in teaching methods are not only encouraged, but is a must. Right now, you have to approach all different learning skills that people may have, so not everybody learns the same way. So you would think that even special schools or mainstream schools dealing with SEND children will even make more emphasis on this, on different teaching strategies and different teaching methods, but it's not happening. It's really sad, because I see, especially sadly, with SEND children and disabled children, is that you take them to school so they care for them, not really for them to learn, which is sad. So yeah, I mean, there is, not to be all negative though, and there is positive things in special needs, especially. I cannot speak much about mainstream because I don't have that experience, but in special schools, at least you can understand, the staff has a level of understanding disabilities, and also on how to communicate with parents, which is positive. And I had to say that since he was given the final result, the judge tribunal thing, sorry. So he actually has been improving a lot.
Has he?
Yes,
great.
Absolutely. And you can see the difference it makes to have just simple, basic support. Yeah. And this is not massive. It's twice a week, 15 minutes. It's not that much, but it makes an impact, massive impact. And now he's communicating much more through signs, and through other means as well. And
I've noticed that you've got the pod book here as well.
Yes.
How is he with that?
Well, it's a challenge as well, because it is.
Because we've got to learn it first, haven't we?
Oh,
it's quite complex, the pod book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what I was going to say, that it's quite very complex to get your head around the way it's done. I know why they do it like that, I understand, but it's hard. It's hard to get, and then you don't find things easily, and it's a bit of shame, but we're still using it. We try to make a point, and it is helpful for in other ways as well. So the way that I find it helpful is that Diego uses it a lot. Diego actually goes there and tells me things, and especially around food. So if he wants an apple or something and he cannot see it, so he'll go there and I want this. So, and when we've been out and about as well, I can communicate with him as well. Because with the before we used to use pegs, and the problem with pegs is that because they are laminated in a normal way, they have the Velcro, and so you end up carrying a mini book of pegs, and it's so heavy, and you don't have all the pegs because that it will you have to have bring a trolley really,
Yeah.
to do that. But with the pod book, because it's laminated especially, and there is no Velcro whatsoever, what we found is that we have a huge vocabulary at our, that we can
Fingertips.
take with us, movable. And yeah, we can go to the park, and I can take the put book, go to the park area, and it's like, oh, look, a squirrel, and I can show the squirrel, and look, a stick, and look this, and look that. So he can also make the link, and I think it's helpful. I don't think is bad. I think it's actually quite helpful, and it's another strategy that we can have. But I think as well that it should be complemented by more things and more strategy.
Yeah.
I think the more that you can use, especially with kids that are so difficult, their communication skills are so bad in a way. So
It's
the best
using
thing
a
is
total communication system, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when I say a total communication system, that will mean using your body language, really exaggerated facial expressions, pointing, and using your body to the maximum and your facial expressions. But then also using your visuals, whether it's pod or whether it's pecs,
and Macaton
visual
as well.
aids basically, and also using the Macaton as well.
We found Macaton at the end for us works really good in the sense because we can do that to him, like express ourselves with Macaton signs, and then he tried to replicate. Problem is that because he has also dyspraxia, then his signs are approximations, because for him it's hard to coordinate. But it's funny, and it's good to see him wanted to communicate and using these signs, and now he can say like sleep, or he can ask for apples with signs, and he
Iggy's
can.
favourite is again.
Again. Okay, we don't have again, but we have more.
Yeah.
Which he loves more, of course. And one of the great things, big, massive milestone as a Zen, mom, it was that barely 2 years ago, he started to say no. When 7 years old, bless him, and now he says no, and he can say no, and this has saved us actually so much heartache and so much, because we respect him, we listen to him, and we say no, finish, or no, it's like okay, finish, no, we respect you, we hear you, and I think he understands that, and he feels like they are listening to me, they are understanding me, and I think for him it's massive.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
He's getting there, but you've had to really fight and be a real tiger mummy to get there and get his provision met. And good on you, Marta.
Thank you, love. But
that's
I would
amazing.
say one of the last things I would like to say, though, is for all those parents that maybe just got a diagnosis and all these things. I know it's overwhelming, and I know it's scary, and I know it's frustrating, but especially to deal with what we say, with everything that is not actually the disability of your child, that is actually what is surrounds it. I would say to them, hang on there. I know it's difficult, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say it gets better like everybody says, but in the end you find a way to manage, and you find a way to deal with it, and you will have good times, and you will have not so good times, and times where you are really low, but the love for our kids is first, and we can do it. We can do it, and we will do it. And saying that we can do it, anybody can do it, is my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, just be strong, you know, and very important, self-care. Self-care a lot.
So important.
It's the most important. And you can do that with little as well, because you know, I know many families here might be by themselves. Of course, as many people will have noticed, I'm not English, so my family doesn't live here. My husband is not English neither, so his family doesn't live here.
Yeah, it's very isolating, isn't it?
Yeah, we have nobody, no family or nobody to. But you find ways, and you have to find these ways to take a bit time off for yourself, even if it's 1 or 2 hours in the evenings, or when the child is in school, or you need to take care of yourselves always, because you are the most important person in your child's lives, and you have to care for yourself so your child is happy, and you know, and they have somebody that fights for them for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So we are here for that, and we will do it. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Lisa.
for sharing your story.
Of course, a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to join me today. To find out more about what I do, visit www.specialworldtraining.com and follow us on our Facebook page, Special World Training, Instagram and LinkedIn. I believe knowledge is power and strength is in numbers. And if more people get involved in our special world, we can all make our world a better place. Join me next week for more amazing stories from the good, the bad and the ugly.